and I want to wish everybody a happy Purim. Did you guys know that today is Purim? Do you know what Purim is? It is a festival, a celebration that is described for us, and it comes from some events that happened in the Jewish portion, Hebrew portion of our Bible, primarily the Book of Esther. As a matter of fact, observant Jews on this day will probably read the entire Book of Esther, the whole Megillah, as it's called, which is really awesome. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about it today. I won't have time to read the entire thing to you here on Facebook. I'm going to read the whole thing later, and I recommend it to you. But I think it's a wonderful day to celebrate. I hope that if I have any Jewish friends who don't believe that Yeshua is Messiah, that this isn't meant to offend, and I don't think that it needs to. But I think it's a wonderful thing for us to remember that God is the God who's in control. So in the Book of Esther, these are the events. There's a king named Xerxes. Also, Ahasuerus is another name that he has, and he has this banquet. That's the events that unfold. It is a funny story. John Grisham can't write political intrigue and backbiting and dramatic events that take place, as well as this true story. But the king is throwing this raucous banquet. He has all his friends, and he's bragging about all his wealth. And he calls his queen Vashti to come appear before everyone. And for whatever reason, there's a lot of different theories as to why she refuses him. Vashti does not come. And he is so frustrated and so embarrassed that his wife and queen disobeyed him in this way that she's deposed. She's removed from being queen. So sorry there, King Xerxes. That was embarrassing, although maybe a little misogynistic to demand that of her in that way. But afterwards, so, not to be outdone, he holds a nationwide beauty pageant to pick his next queen. So the misogyny doesn't stop there. As it turns out, Esther, who is a Jewish girl, is chosen to be King Xerxes, Ahasuerus' new queen. And her cousin, who's really her guardian, who takes care of her, Mordecai, says, "You know what, sweetheart, this is great. Don't let it be known that you're Jewish. I don't think that that's going to work out to your advantage." So Esther is made queen. Well, a man comes to power within the nation of Medo-Persia named Haman, who hates the Jewish people. A lot of it has to do with ethnic tension and strife that exists between Haman, who is an Agagite, and the Jewish people. But it really comes to a head is that Mordecai, who also works for the government, doesn't bow when Haman walks by, and that just drives him right up the wall. Haman has the power and the king's ear to affect this very wicked plot. And he gets the king to agree. I'm not even entirely sure the king knows what he's agreeing about, because he takes his royal signet ring and gives it to Haman, which is crazy. That's a great way to write and establish policy. But Haman affects it so that there is a decree that all the Jewish people in the entire nation of Medo-Persia, which is like almost the whole known world, are going to be killed on this specific day. And he casts lots, like rolls dice, in order to pick that day. And it is the 13th day of the 12th month in the Jewish calendar, which is Adar. And that's how it's going to be. So Haman is psyched that he has this rule that all the Jewish people in all of the nation, letters are sent out to every corner of the nation. Hey, on the 13th day of the 12th month, we can kill every Jew that we encounter. What a wicked plan. Mordecai, who also works for the government, hears about this. And he puts on sackcloth and ashes, and he is openly mourning because his people are in danger within the entire nation. And Esther hears about this. She's up there being queen. She says, "Mordecai, you need to stop. What's going on?" And he reveals to her Haman's plan. And she's frightened and he's scared. He says, "You are in position to fix this. You need to go to King Xerxes and let it be known that you're a Jew and that this has happened." She says, "I can't appear before the king without being summoned. That puts me at risk of death." What a nation, Medo-Persia. And anyway, Mordecai tells her this: "Look, sweetheart, I can't tell you what to do. And if you decide to do nothing, God will save his people another way. But it might be the case that you've become queen for such a time as this. This might be your big moment." And she says, "All right, whatever happens, I'm going to go do that." So she appears before the king, uninvited, unannounced. And he extends his scepter towards her, which says, "Hey, baby, I'm glad that you're here, even though I hadn't invited you. What is it you want? I'd give you anything, up to half the kingdom." He's psyched to see his beautiful bride. And she says, "I have one request, king, that you and Haman come to a dinner party with me tonight." He says, "That sounds great." He shows up. She entertains him. He says, "Baby, what's the real reason you've called me out here today? I'll give you anything. I love you so much." And she says, "The only thing I'd ask is that you come to another dinner party tomorrow. Some scholars say she lost her nerve. I'm not entirely sure why she decided to do it that way, but the events of the story are unfolding. So the king leaves feeling good. Haman leaves feeling good because he's psyched. Man, the king loves me. It seems like the queen loves me. He goes and brags to his friend and family that he's got this plot to kill the Jews who are his enemies, and Mordecai, who just drives him crazy. He says, you know what I'm going to do? Not only are all the Jewish people going to be destroyed on this day all over the country, I'm going to build a gallows, and we're going to hang Mordecai, and it is going to be great. So he's just feeling great, just reveling in his wickedness. Well, that night, the king can't get to sleep. I'm not sure why. Maybe the party was so exciting. So he says, you know what? Somebody come in here and read from the Book of Records, just of the Medo-Persians, just the minutes from our government's behavior. That would really put anybody to sleep, right? And what he's reminded of is some events that took place in chapter 2. He says, you know, king, there was a plot within this palace to have you murdered, and Mordecai got wind of it, and he foiled it. He came and he told us that this was going to happen, and you were rescued by this man who works in the government named Mordecai. King says, we do anything to thank him? They said, nope, I don't think so. He says, well, that doesn't seem right. So he calls in Haman, and he says, Haman, if I were going to honor somebody within this kingdom, what should I do? Haman is excited because he thinks it's about him. He says, oh, king, I'd put your robe around that man, and you put him up on top of your horse, and I'd ride him through town, and someone should walk ahead of him and say, this is how the king honors this great man. And the king says, that's a great idea, Haman. Make it so. Go get Mordecai, put my robe on him, get him up on my horse, and you walk around and say, this is how the king honors this great man, which is pretty embarrassing for Haman and unusual. But he figures, that's all right. You know, I'll just grin and bear it. He's going to be dead soon anyway. Well, it's the next day, and it's Esther's next dinner party. The king shows up, and Haman shows up. He says, baby, this has been great. I've loved spending this time with you. What do you really want from me? And that's when she makes it known. King, I need you to save me. Haman has a plot to kill all of the Jews in the entire kingdom, and I am Jewish. And so is my cousin or uncle, my guardian Haman, who has rescued you. The king flips. He's so angry, he storms out of the room. Haman throws himself at Esther and says, please, you need to help me. Well, the king comes back in, and what's going on here? You're going to attack my wife in my own palace? And they have Haman executed on the gallows that he had built for Mordecai. Holy mackerel, this is wild. Well, there's a problem because the decree that was sent out for the Jews to be killed can't be undone by Medo-Persian law. Well, Esther says, maybe we could do something else. He says, you know what, baby? Here's my ring. Do whatever needs to be done. Whatever you need to do to fix it, you can do. So they write another decree that says this day is coming. The 13th day of the 12th month is coming, where the Jews are going to be attacked. But you know what? You're allowed to arm up and defend yourself. And as the day comes, the Jews are able to protect themselves, and they're delivered, which is amazing. And because their deliverance is so successful, there's all this celebrating, and they call the celebration of this day Purim, which means to cast lots, to roll the dice, because that's what Haman did in order to figure out the day in which they should be destroyed. So because of Esther's courage, the Jewish people are delivered. One wild thing about this book, the Book of Esther, the Megillah, is that God's name is never mentioned once. He doesn't speak. His name isn't mentioned. And that could seem odd for a book of the Bible, but I think it's on purpose. What it reveals is this, sometimes God parts the Red Sea. Sometimes he speaks from the burning bush. Sometimes he heals the sick and raises the dead. But other times when it doesn't seem like he's there and you are freaking out and life is crushing it against you, God is still in control, even when you're unaware of it. All of the events in the Book of Esther, if they were taken by themselves, it would just seem like one serendipitous, lucky event. But when you see the entire thing, it is plain. God's got you in every situation. God is able to deliver you even when you don't see him and you're not hearing from him. He loves you, and he is able and willing to protect his people. So I really hope that we take our cue from Esther and we stand in the courage of our faith, because as surely as he rescued his people through Esther's courage, so much more has he provided salvation for all who believe through Jesus, Messiah. At least that's what I understand as a follower of Jesus, the Messiah, Jesus Jesus Christ. I hope you guys have an awesome Purim. I highly recommend that you read Esther, read the whole Megillah today, and just absolutely thank God for the glory that he shown in this story and continues to show as he rescues his people in the day to day. I love you guys, and we'll see you later. Thanks.